I'm Ty, and I'm going off script with Jeff Lawson, the founder of Ippon Gym, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, a black belt in Judo, and a former contestant on The Ultimate Fighter.
I've been unconscious so many times that when they start coming back round, rather than just a little sort of handshake, some people convulse and have a seizure. I was swapping out my medication some days for a little mushroom. Some days everything was fluffy and warm, other days it was normal. Psychedelic therapy is a thing. It is going to become more prevalent. You go through the anxiety and the fear and the love and everything. It's all sort of building up and then it comes out. You're never ready to see that shit.
Jeff, it's an honour to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Ty.
I've got to be honest, mate, I've been a little bit nervous about having you on here, and I've been trying to work out whether I've been more nervous about this or was I more nervous about the role last week, the first time.
I reckon the role probably.
Role frightened me. Role frightened me.
But now we've got through that, you know, it was unfounded.
Well, it was my first class, first role, and I thought, I'll just go straight in the deep end. When you said, who hasn't rolled with me yet? Who's coming? I was like, I'm in. I'll get it out of the way. I'll get it out of the way. It was fun. Jeff, let's go back a little bit briefly to the early years.
Yep.
Childhood, a little bit about where you grew up, what that was like. Because I don't actually know. I'm really excited to learn more about you as well. I don't actually know a lot of this myself.
Okay. So I'm from Southampton, a little place called Totton.
Scummer.
But I'm not into football, so
neither am I.
No.
I've just heard that term.
Yeah, there's a few different terms, but I had a great childhood. You know, just normal. Had loads of friends, lots of family. Come from a big family, so I was heavily involved with my family when I was a lot younger. You know, my best friends are like my cousins, and
similar to me. That's actually quite rare in the British culture.
Is it?
I find it, A lot of people that I speak to are not as in touch with their cousins. Some of them don't even speak to them.
Well, I'm not anymore, really.
Well,
I mean, like occasionally I see them, but when I was younger, we were pretty tight. You know, like I say, my best friends are my cousins, really. So that was good.
What about school days? What were you like? Were you naughty?
I was, I suppose I was naughty. I was a naughty kid, but I wasn't ever nasty. Do you know what I mean? I was naughty, and I just used to like making the other kids laugh and things like that. And they could get me to do anything, you know, which ended up being, you know, not so good sometimes. But I never got expelled. I never got suspended. You know, I was have a few punch ups and that's, you know, just what boys, just a typical boy, just literally a typical lad's upbringing. You know, loving, happy family, and it was all good.
And athletic? Were you always athletic? Did you do any sports at school?
Sports at school, I could only do athletics. So I was a fast runner. I couldn't run long distance. I wasn't so bad at long jump and the athletic things, but put a ball in front of me, absolutely useless. I got kicked off 2 football teams for scoring in the own goal and tackling my own players. And that was a friend of the family, said, Jeff, he came round one day and I was like, yeah, I'm doing football now, great. And he came round and he said, I think we just stick to training for you for a while, Jeff. And I was like, oh, God.
Love it.
But I suppose that was the thing that got me into doing the martial arts then. So I got into judo.
At what
after
age?
that. Now, I think it was a little bit younger than 8, but mainly when I was 8. So I might have had a few months off in between because my old judo coaches said that I was really little and then they didn't see me for a long time. And then when I came back, I was a bit bigger. They said that, you know, that's what they said to me. So I reckon about 8. So I've been in a gi for about 36.
Cool.
About 36 years I've been in a gi.
Giving your age away there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm 40, I don't even know if I'm 43 or 44 this year. something like that.
You probably don't know this, but I actually did karate as a kid.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not too unfamiliar with a gi.
Yeah.
But the karate ones used to make loads of noise. Do you remember when you threw your punches?
Yeah.
We did. My dad sent me to, is it Wadakai type of karate? So it's not the Shotokan, the one that's straight up and down. It's the one that you move around a little bit.
Yeah.
To the best of his knowledge, that's what he thought would help me with self-defense, if you know what I mean, when I was a bit younger.
Yeah.
But it was mainly katas and
yeah.
It was almost like acting as opposed to fighting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of martial arts are like that. A lot of the traditional martial arts do sort of focus on like punching in the air and stuff like that. But there are some styles of karate that are brutal, absolutely brutal. So, you know, it's just picking, you know, do you want it for well-being? Do you want it for community, or do you want it for effectiveness? You know, do you want this to be able to work for you? And there are boats for both. For
all of them, yeah.
You know, it's whatever you want. You know, you see people that are never going to be able to defend themselves doing martial arts, and they're happy doing it.
Yeah.
Let them do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I wish I'd discovered BJJ younger. I was saying this to someone the other day. I wish I was a kid when I started, but obviously it's easy to go, I wish.
Yeah,
I've started now. I'm 33.
Yeah.
I've been going 3 or 4 months, obviously, to your gym, Ippon, and it's been amazing for me. It's been life-changing.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is fantastic.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you did judo till, at what point did you move from judo to?
Okay, so I'll tell you. So I did judo from 8 years old, regularly and competitively till I was about 23, which is when I moved into mixed martial arts. I didn't move straight into jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's been later. I did the odd session here and there, but I focused on my mixed martial arts career from then. And then I probably had about 1.5 to 2 years of purely being a professional mixed martial artist, and that was cool, because there's a lot of people that call themselves professional mixed martial artists, but there's just a rule set that they fight under. When it's your bread and butter, you know, your sponsorship and your fights and your one-to-ones, that is, you know, when you can call yourself a professional mixed martial artist. You know,
so you were actually competing. That was your full-time job.
That was my full-time job.
Wow.
I was competing, I was teaching, and that's it. Competing and teaching. Yeah.
And I guess your skill, when we talk about MMA, it's mixed. Your skill was judo-based?
Yeah, completely. Judo-based. Because with my judo career, I was always average. I was never, ever in the elite judo. I just couldn't keep up with them. I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't strong enough throughout my whole career, really. And then mixed martial arts sort of came in the early, to me, in the 2000s, first, you know, 2001, 2003, in between that sort of time, when I started noticing it. And I thought, do you know what? I could do this. I could do, some of my stuff would work on them. And do you know what? It worked on a retreat. If you could just get hold of someone, I could throw them. I could pretty much throw anyone that they put in front of me and end up in a straight arm lock.
Yeah,
you know?
I've seen that video.
I've got so many of those. So I think I've got 12 professional wins, something like 10 to 12 professional wins with a straight armbar.
It's really interesting to hear you say that you weren't necessarily very good at judo, because it's almost like what I've known you for, that judo throw.
Yeah.
Judo throw into the armbar.
Yeah. That's the thing is, since I've left structured judo classes, I've probably studied it more than I ever have. And I know what works for mixed martial arts, and I know what works especially for jiu-jitsu. So, and you know that you get judo players that come in and out of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and they're trying to sell instructionals and things like that. And this works, but it works specifically for them. It works for them because they've trained and trained and trained. And you know, it when you come up against a good level Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fighter, I'm not talking about elite. I'm talking about just a good level.
Yeah.
If a judo player can throw them, but they get tied up in knots on the ground because that's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu domain. But now, this is a few years ago, like I'd go into blue belt tournaments and I could throw, literally, like I said before, I could throw anyone they put in front of me. But if a guy pulled guard, then I'd really have to pull out my newaza, which is what judo called groundwork.
Yeah.
I'd really have to pull that out of the bag, and I'd work really, really hard to submit these people. And I've lost a bunch of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu matches when I've thrown someone and they've just waited and they've just not taken my back. Oh yeah, I suppose they have taken my back. So you throw someone, it's typical what a judo player would do. And it's all part of the learning. It's all part, and it's with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it's constant, you know, you're constantly learning.
So we talked about judo into MMA, and that was like kind of your job. Have you had any other jobs growing up before you got into sort of combat?
Yeah, loads.
Any that you thought would have been your career? Have you always known you were going to end up in that combat sport?
Do you know what? When I was a kid, I always wanted a gym. I always wanted a gym, which was really, really strange. And I always wanted a gym, but I think I wanted more
a combat gym, right? Not a gym.
No, because they didn't really exist. Okay. All I could think of was a gym
with weights.
Like that was all I could think of. Yeah. So that was all I could think of back then. And I said, and I'll have a little area for the mat and stuff like that. So that's what I always wanted, which was strange. But I also, I've worked with animals as well. So I've worked on a farm.
Wow.
I've worked on a golf course. I've worked on a massive chicken company that I worked for, which was pretty awful, I'll be honest. Yeah. And I worked in shops, worked in...
retail.
In retail, yeah, which I really enjoyed.
And if anyone didn't pay the bill, you just threw them over the counter.
Yeah.
So MMA career. Let's tap into that a little bit before we go on to BJJ.
Yeah.
You were doing MMA at a time where, you know, mixed martial artists. It wasn't a thing, was it? It was people with different disciplines coming to fight each other.
It really was. Yeah, and I'm very fortunate that happened, because I wouldn't have got so many wins otherwise.
So it's different. You think it's different now to then?
Yeah, because you become a mixed martial artist. Back then, I was a judo guy going against a kung fu guy or a karate guy or a kickboxer, and I was this judo guy coming in against them. In a mixed martial arts bout.
Yeah.
But now it's just, it's the sport, it's mixed martial arts. You know,
you see them learning all the different disciplines.
They do all of it. They do all of it.
And is this kind of what I watched a podcast with one of the Gracie family, and they kind of mentioned about this, that originally they were trying to bring everyone together to prove that BJJ was the best type of combat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they did.
That's how it came about.
That's how the UFC was born.
And then I believe you were the first on Ultimate Fighter? First from the UK versus USA season.
So there was 8 of us. Sorry, excuse me. There was 8 of us that were on there, yeah. So
how did you get on? How did you find that? Was that a turning point in your career where you thought, because it's televised, right?
It's huge.
Yeah, massive.
Absolutely huge.
So was that a point where you thought, right, this is it? Kind of thing.
I did, yeah. We all did, really. So I had quite a few mixed martial arts bouts leading up to that. And I fought a couple of cans, as everyone does, but then I fought some good level guys and I'd beaten them, and that sort of got me a shot at the Ultimate Fighter. But I had a good manager at the time, and he got me an interview. So I flew straight over to Vegas. I didn't have to do the trials over here. I flew straight to Vegas.
Wow. What an experience.
It was unreal. And then...
What year is this, by the way?
It was the series was 2009. It was the Ultimate Fighter 9 in 2009.
Yeah.
And I think we were filming in 2009, but the auditions were in 2008, in December 2008. So I got a call up from the production company, and they said, can you come over for an interview? And I was like, yay! It was unreal. It was like the most amazing thing, really.
And living in that house, it was like a Big Brother, right? No phones,
completely.
No nothing. It was like a combat version of Big Brother, what we see in more modern times.
Yeah. But you didn't get kicked out. A few of the early ones you got kicked out of. So as you lost a fight, that was it. You were told to leave. But this time, they keep you all in just to cause mayhem, and it helps to keep training. So it's proper, a proper show.
Yeah.
But, these guys, the production company want drama, and they want things to happen. But on the flip side of that, they also need good fights and disciplined people to show what, to win this contract in the UFC.
So MMA, obviously you were good at it, you liked it, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
how do you then go from MMA to BJJ? Because as long as I've known you as BJJ Jeff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, I know about your history, but you've got a BJJ gym.
Yeah.
So at what point did you transition or go, I don't want to carry on fighting or doing whatever it was you were doing?
So I started proper jiu-jitsu probably... I can never remember the actual years, but I started with Alex D'Souza, who's local in Bournemouth, in, I'll say 2005, 2006, 2007, something like that. And then I was regular, constantly. I was going to jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't say that I fell in love with it then. It was a necessity for my mixed martial arts training. I was doing it.
It was a bolt on.
It was really necessary because, you know, there were tough guys that I was sparring with all the time, and Alex was tough to roll with, and it was brilliant. It was, you know, what I needed. Rather than going up to London all the time, you know, I had everything right here. I was striking with John Orchard.
Yeah, I know, I've trained with John.
Yeah, John's a great striking coach. And I was attending Alex's classes regularly, as well as running classes in a gym for mixed martial arts. So I was running them then as well.
Going for it then?
Yeah.
Because he was one of the first to bring it to the area, wasn't he? Alex D'Souza?
One of the first to bring it to the country. He was
really?
One of the first few to bring it to the country.
Wow. I didn't realise that.
Not the first, exactly first, but, you know, it was in that
very
first
early.
sort of, very early. Yeah.
Okay. BJJ. You've had a few fights in that.
Yes.
If you had to pick one discipline to fight in, whether that's judo, MMA I'll put as a separate discipline, although it's not, or BJJ, what do you prefer now?
Now, jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is just...
Is that based on you've done it, you don't want to smash your body up anymore, and it's a little bit more...
Yeah, I mean, I'd never go back to... look, right, here we go. So, as a kid, we get... So this is a missed opportunity for me, right? This is one of my biggest things that I've missed in my life. We get a Union Jack, right? If you're good enough in the judo, you get to fight for your country. And you get a Union Jack here with Junior International, Cadet International, or Senior International. And you have to be elite. And that was what I always wanted. And do you know what? Part of me still wants that now. So I could go, if I took up judo again, I could go potentially and to see if I could get on the Masters team. The Masters team's like over 40 or over 30. I can't remember. I've been out of it for so long. I don't know. But do you know what, Ty? A little tiny bit of, a lot of me actually, I'm going to say a little tiny bit. A lot of me still wants that one little thing that I've never been able to get. So
what you're saying is there could be a comeback?
I could do another year at judo. I could do another year at judo.
And your body would allow you to do that?
Yeah.
From an injury perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to feel my hip lately, but I was throwing the dog... No, I tried to catch my dog the other day and I slipped, and I don't know if I've really pulled something in my hip. A dirty mud, do you know what I mean? So I did the splits, basically. So my hip's been bad for about 2 months now. So I'm... Touch wood. You know, I don't want to... Because you have people like my age having hip replacements from judo, and I don't want that, so...
Any serious injuries in your fighting career?
The most serious one I got when I was probably about 8 is I dislocated this elbow. I've never been able to straighten it. I've had operations on it.
Well, that's as straight as it goes.
That's as straight as it goes. And that one, they're both like that, and I can't touch my shoulders.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't touch my shoulders. So that's as far as it goes, basically.
And no sort of like yoga-y kind of thing is going to help that mobility? Or is it literally operation or that's it, you're stuck?
I think there's stuff in there. There's free...
Tendon-based maybe?
No, calcification.
Okay,
there's calcifications in the tendons and in the joint, which literally stops... Literally stops it from going down there. Honestly, it's crazy.
I actually cut this little finger, look. So it doesn't go straight.
Look at that.
So I cut 2 tendons and it pinged back to my elbow when I was younger.
Wow.
And they pulled it back up and they stitched it back because I couldn't move my finger.
Yeah.
But then I had a load of physio and that's kind of it. And it just doesn't move.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. That one there, I completely dislocated.
Yeah.
I was in the Europeans, and I was fighting this Brazilian, and he grip broke. He went like that, bang, and it hurt. And I went to grip him back like that, and as I gripped him, all of my muscles pulled, and my finger just went like that, like twisted, spiraled up. It was painful, but not ridiculously. And I was like, oh, that's not right. So I pulled it back in like that, right? Did it again, and it did exactly the same thing, but they taped it, and I carried on with the fight anyway. But I had someone work on this as well, like you had on that, and that's almost straight. It's almost straight. It's not as bad as it was like that, and it's.
You talk about that grip stripping, and when I first started with Claudio a few months ago, he was like, "Oh, you'll get good at grip." And my grip's got stronger.
Yeah.
But now the level that we're rolling about in, when they rip that grip off, Jesus, like this finger here, it's not been right for about 4 weeks.
Get used to your body not being right, Ty.
I thought it was going to be an easier martial arts thing because there's obviously with boxing you're getting punched in the face and you're punching in the face. With jiu-jitsu I thought, I'll be all right, I won't ever get injured from this. But I think the first session I did a roly-poly and pulled my trap.
Mate, you'll wake up with injuries in places you'd never expect to get them. Do you know what I mean?
I just think it's obviously it's getting very, very popular now. Maybe it's getting very popular now. Maybe I'm noticing it more, but I feel like everyone around me is into it now.
It is getting popular. It's getting popular, more and more popular.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's a fad, or do you think it's or do you think some of them will drop out as time goes on, as with anything that's popular?
Well, look, I don't know about other gyms, but my gym, we very, very rarely get someone drop out. Very rarely.
I've noticed you've got probably the most amount I've seen of high-grade jiu-jitsu people in terms of belts.
Yeah, we've got a lot. We have got a lot. I think there's about 13 black belts at the gym, but they don't all come at one time. So we get 2 or 3, up to 5 a night maybe.
And do you think the BJJ culture from when you started to now has changed a bit? With MMA getting bigger, do you see what I mean? Because I feel like certain people I've rolled with or trained with, and I've only done it, as you know, 3 or 4 months. Yep. So I'm very early stages in that journey. But some of them I feel like practice what I would call traditional, respectful jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then some of them I feel are a bit more smashy, aggressive, almost like MMA style jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's different. Has it always been that divide, or do you think that's getting bigger as MMA's got bigger, UFC's got bigger?
No.
Has there always been that?
Yeah, it's just stylistically. That's just styles. You'll roll with one guy in the gym and he'll smash you into the ground.
But there's smashing and then there's smashing, isn't there? It's probably what I'm trying to get. So like Claudio smashes me, but so elegantly.
Yeah.
And so respectfully, if you know what I mean. But sometimes you roll with someone and you genuinely feel like you've had a fight, as in you've been punched, there's bruises, it's a whole different...
Depends. I mean, you'll roll with some of the black belts and they probably won't do that to you. Look at Claudio, he does it elegantly.
Amazing,
The higher grade you get up to, if you went with Daniel at the gym or John at the gym, Luke, any of my black belts, they won't hurt you.
Yeah.
But you won't get they won't give you a centimetre,
but I like that.
But they won't hurt you. They won't destroy you or anything like that, unless they're training for competition. And the moment you go, right, competition, you have to have that extra gear. You have to
switch.
Yeah, you've got to move them around a little bit. So, for example, I know you roll with Claudio a lot and you train with Claudio a lot. When Claudio's training for competition, he won't roll with you the same way that he has to roll with me, or the same way that he rolls with Harry, or the same way that he rolls with Daniel in the gym. You have to change it a little bit. So you'll be feeling, right, let's promote you, let's get you going, let's build your confidence up, let's get you working. You're feeling that. Whereas then he'll have another level to step up to where he needs to be at the end of his energy, Ty. So, you know, we need to do that to him. You know, that the better guys in the gym need to do that to him.
It makes sense.
Do you know
makes
what I mean?
sense. Yeah. First time I saw Claudio compete was a couple of weeks ago at the Polaris.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the first time I've seen that in his eyes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
And when he's rolling with me, I'm a proper beginner, so it's different.
Yeah, it's very different.
And when I saw him there, it was almost a different Claudio.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to have been in there.
No. No, it's but that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu is you can mix in, Ty, you can go and roll with Claudio.
Yeah.
Right? You can go and do that. In judo, you can't do that. Right? You wouldn't even have access to those high level guys. Do you know what I mean? So that's the lovely thing about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is you can go to an academy where these guys are and you could probably get a roll with them, but you could at least be on the same sort of mat with them in the same club because we all run clubs, you know, all the good guys that have got it. They run clubs.
I think I've fallen in love with it purely on the basis that when you get on that mat, obviously, as I said to you earlier before the podcast, I've been a blagger most of my life, like, as in I've had to wing it effectively. And I think the older you get, the more you realise that everyone's winging it. But when you get on the mat in a class or with someone, you can't wing it. You're exposed.
Yeah.
And I actually love that. It's a different type of pressure. I've never felt that because in business world, you can sort of half wing it through.
Yeah.
I also love the element of I think everyone needs a good humbling from time to time.
Yeah.
When I come into the class, or when anyone comes into the class, doesn't matter who you are, what status you have in life, what money you have, what house you live in, what car you drive, you line up in belt order. And there's all that respect. And I love it. And I love the strategy. I said to you earlier, I used to play a lot of chess with my dad growing up. Yeah. And that he would use the chess moves as a sort of like a metaphor for life and life lessons. Okay. Well, I was like 8 years old. Yeah. And I was always thinking, what the hell is this guy on about? But like, as I've got older, I've realised actually I've been using a lot of it without realising. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to play chess, so...
I think you'd be very good at it. It's all strategy.
Is it?
So it's very similar to BJJ. And that's kind of what I like. I like the fact that I'm not being hit. I'm not really hitting, because as fun as that is, it's not that nice to hit another human being in the head, really. No. And it's not that nice to be hit in the head. But with jiu-jitsu, I quite like the idea of you're doing something to me and I'm setting something up. Chess is very much like this. So I'm maybe putting something out there for you, knowing that you might take that and in 3 moves' time, I've got you and you're finished. And that's kind of what I understand jiu-jitsu is like from what Claudio's taught me. Yeah. So thinking 2-3 steps ahead, the strategy, I love all that. Yeah. I love all that.
There's another way.
Yeah.
You can literally force your will on another human being for jiu-jitsu. and I don't give you those extra 2 or 3 steps. You can go mentally, you can go, okay, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going to do. Bam, 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 bam. You're done. It's not like...
Got you.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So there's that other way that you can do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's with a lot of the sporty competitive martial arts. You know, you can be that confident with a skill set. You know, I'm not going to plan bam, 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 bam. I'm confident enough to do that. But what I want to this is what I want to happen, and I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to go out of my way to make that happen. And you can do that as well. You know, you can do that. Rather than have that chess-like
it is interesting.
Strategy test. So there is that side as well.
It is interesting.
And that's the beauty of what we do, because it's a combat sport.
Yep.
You know, it is a martial art, but primarily, you know, a combat sport that you know, it could be something like in the Olympics or something like that, you know. So,
and you're quite into that element of it, aren't you? That sort of kill or be killed, that kind of, you practice it to compete. You enjoy it, you know, as a competitive
what we do at the
sport.
club. That's what we do at the club. You know, we're not, some clubs are purely competitive.
Yeah.
And they're very small. Those clubs are very, very small. And we've got quite a few members at the club. And the majority of those people are, recreational.
Yes.
They're recreational people. They keep the club alive. They keep the club open. They help pay to provide a space for the competition team to train in. If I ran a competition team, I'd have 10 people. That would be it. There'd be 10 people at the gym, you know, and you see them training separately from the classes because there's other things that they need to be doing. Now, there's another step to that as well. If I went down the self-defense route.
Yeah.
If you went, because there's a big self-defense element to martial arts, but you haven't got all the time in the world to do that. So I could go down there, you know, I'm conscious that I'm teaching some of the kids I could teach self-defense to that I have in the gym. There wasn't enough time in the day to do that. I think that you teach them competitive skills, teach anyone competitive skills. The more knowledge and the more knowledge they get, the more confidence they get. And the more confidence they get, the more ability they've got to apply those skills to a self-defense situation. Be it in a competition they can do it, or be it in the streets they could do it, you know?
It's interesting you say that, because when I've started to learn BJJ, it's probably the only combat martial arts that I feel is the closest thing to the street. If you generally look at an altercation or a fight on the street, it's very rare that someone's throwing 2 jabs, a hook, and then a body shot. Someone's throwing a massive sweep. Someone rugby tackles them to the ground, and the majority of the work is on the ground. So if I was thinking purely self-defense, it's probably the best one for me, the most realistic.
I'll tell you what I think one of the most best martial arts for self-defense is judo.
Really?
It's judo. As long as you can learn to stay on your feet. I mean, Ty, you own clubs.
Yeah.
You must have had doorman brawls, seen it, blah, 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 blah. They end up on the floor, and the worst thing ever is getting your head stomped, kicked, or other people piling in on you. With judo, if you learn it from a self-defense aspect, you can throw them. And don't get me wrong, jiu-jitsu guys can teach you this as well.
Yeah.
But if my son's coming up to that age now where he can go, he's going to start going out, he's going to start getting into clubs and things like that. And, you know, like I said to you before, I hate head kickers and people, but you see him doing it, right? So I'm going to make sure that he knows how to safely throw someone, stay on his feet, you know, and that's what I think for a self-defense aspect. I think jiu-jitsu is, judo, sorry. From a self-defense aspect, judo is probably your better bet for self-defense.
I can see that.
You can throw and stay on your feet, okay? If you throw and roll over them like they do in competitive judo, and you don't know any Newaza, no, right? You've got to be able to throw them and stay on your feet. And I think that's a massive self-defense skill.
Jeff, one of the things I find really interesting, and one of the reasons I sort of not stopped boxing, I never boxed at a good level, but I got bored of hitting people in the head, and I got bored of being punched in the head. Now, with BJJ, obviously you've still got the element of being choked out. So you can be knocked out from both of those sports. Do you think there's a difference in being knocked out from being punched or being strangled? Obviously there's the concussion element because a punch has got a physical impact, but you're being put to sleep in both, technically.
Yeah, so like you just said, you are being put to sleep in both. And I think, I'm no expert, you know, and I have been punched in the head a lot, and I have dealt out a load of punches in other people's heads, but purely sporty. I can imagine that I know what hurts more. Let me tell you that for a fact. I know that being punched and being knocked out hurts a hell of a lot more than the almost pleasurable being strangled unconscious, you know.
Because you don't, with the strangling as well, there isn't really a pain. You're almost, Claudio was teaching me it, so he was obviously putting on a bit more. You sort of think, oh, I'm not breathing here, or I can't breathe, and then I guess the next thing you'd wake up, I've not actually been put to sleep. But you probably wouldn't feel going to sleep, would you? You don't feel it,
no, not really, no. I'll tell you what happens, and you either panic straight away and you tap, from when the choke's put on. Yeah, that's what happens. That's the first sort of reaction. You go, oh, this is uncomfortable, blah, 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 and you tap. Or you have that confidence that you can escape, right? And this is what happens. So you go, okay, I can feel this coming on. This is a very bad position. It is painful because when they say, particularly for a bow and arrow choke, bow and arrow choke, you're bent sideways, your spine's twisted and your gi's around your neck. You think, okay, I can get out of this. I can do this. So you start working through your escape. So you start, okay, I need to make a little bit of room here, make a little bit of room there. And the next thing, if you haven't escaped, the guy stood over you, he's got your feet up in the air and you're like, oh, you sort of come back in the room because you went out, you went unconscious and that was it. You make all these funny noises. I've been unconscious so many times from jiu-jitsu and judo, and MMA. Is
it scary the first time you choke someone out?
Yes, if you do choke someone out,
that must be frightening.
It is scary because some people have
reactions like
a seizure. Some people have a seizure when not at the point when they're out. When they're out, they go, and everything's just so relaxed. But when they start coming back round, you get a really bad shake. And some people, rather than just a little sort of handshake, some people convulse and have a seizure when they come back round. But that's horrible to see. That is really, really horrible to see. This is a story for you. I worked on, and this is dangerous. I wouldn't do this normally. I worked
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, I worked on a yacht. I was teaching jiu-jitsu on a yacht.
Okay.
And one of the guys said, look, I've seen this on MMA and the UFC and things like that. I've seen this, but I don't know what it's like. He said, can you do a rear naked choke on me till I pass out? And I was like, oh, no, it's not really, I don't think the company I was working for, I don't think the insurance covers it. And they were like, no, do you know what? It's absolutely cool. I just want to see what it's like. And I went, okay, that's fine. So I sat behind him and he was really cool. And I put the rear naked choke on him. You know the technique for that now. Put the rear naked choke on. And he didn't panic. He was absolutely fine. He just sort of put his hands up a little bit. And then he just went. But before he went, his girlfriend who was watching, she went first.
You're joking?
I'm not joking.
So she fainted out of the fear?
She fainted out of the fear. She was not up for it at all. But he was up for it. Do you know what I mean? He really wanted it. And it wasn't like, that's what we do, because that wasn't part of it. I was teaching these guys jiu-jitsu, the self-defense side of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And he asked, and I was reluctant at first. He asked, and but they're really lovely people. They're really, really cool guys, and no lasting effects. Obviously, he was absolutely fine, but he convulsed a little bit, and his poor girlfriend, she'd passed out, and he passed out, and there was like that. But he was fine. He got up.
Did you panic at that point a bit?
No, not at all, because
I suppose you've been there, done that.
Yeah. You just seen it so many
Anything
times.
The first time is
so many times. Yeah. When in matches, and you see this a lot with in some other gi-based grappling sports. Mm-hmm. You see where Brazilian Jiu Jitsu's sort of coming into those a little bit, and the Neiwas are, well, not Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, the Neiwas has always been in judo, but there are some guys that are sort of cross-training as well. The referees don't often see the strangles, and the strangles. Some of the referees just don't know. They don't see it. They don't know it. They're not clued up enough. And this is proof. You can go through on YouTube and see people going out. There was a guy, I think he was saying that they're inducted into Valhalla, basically, these guys. But it was referees not seeing chokes. And this is where the damage comes, is when they don't recognize the chokes. The people pass out and the choke is still applied. The strangle is still applied, not the choke. The strangle is still applied for a long time after they've been unconscious. That is where the real danger comes, because
I can imagine.
Yeah, that's where the real danger is.
Just because the person putting the choke on hasn't realised they've they've gone and the ref hasn't seen it, and they've not tapped.
No,
so he's
the
carrying
ref
on.
hasn't seen it. It's not the person underneath who's doing the submission, applying the submission. More often than not, they know because they are in full control of that other person's body, and they can feel when that person stops being tense and that person stops reacting to the submission that's applied. But you have a look.
I might have to look at that, yeah.
I'll show you some videos because there's loads on YouTube, and it is from judo competitions. Not to say that it doesn't happen in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournaments, but because Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is more ground based, the referees are
a bit more clued up.
If they're not looking out the window, looking at the crowd or something like that, which tends to happen a lot. The guys are shouting at it, and because we can get close, as we can get close to the like arena, the guys are normally like, he's out, and the referee's like, whoa, you can see that. I had one of my guys, he attempted a throw. One of my young guys, he attempted a throw on a kid. He was about 16, and he knocked himself out doing the throw. And
How
the kid,
did he do that?
He just landed on his head, just proper nasty landed on his head. Just on the side, but the kid's weight landed on him as well. It wasn't dangerous to any structures or neck or anything like that, but he knocked himself out, and the referee didn't see. This is in a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournament. He knocked himself out, and the guy kept working through, and my guy's arms were just like floppy. We were like, ref, he's out. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. So
I guess there's no, you don't have to have done the sport to be a ref, right? I guess in anything. You don't have to be a pro ex-boxer to be a boxing ref, do you? You don't have to be an ex...
I don't know about striking, but it's almost, you have to in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
You have to know a little bit.
Yeah, you've got to know a little bit. And you have to in judo as well. You know, you have to...
It's too dangerous, I guess, if not. Now, you said about earlier always wanting to own a gym.
Yeah.
You opened Ippon. When did you open Ippon?
When?
Yeah.
2011, I think.
And
I can't remember now.
Was that...
Got to be, yeah.
I think it's got to be.
It's got to be because we're coming up to 11 years.
Because I feel like that was open before I had Halo, and I had Halo in 2013. I think
Definitely
V Club was there when
V Club, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that was pre-2013.
Yeah.
And was that following that dream as a child of opening a gym, or was that purely commercial, or was that you've seen a gap in the market, or was that the fact that you were coming out of your time as a combat athlete and you wanted to stay in the scene?
Exactly. That's it. Exactly.
The connection.
Yeah, the connection. So there's only so much you can get punched to the head and in professional mixed martial arts. So I was coming out of it at that point, and I didn't want to be working for someone else. I didn't want to be working for someone else, doing what someone else wanted me to do. I wanted freedom, and I wanted to use my own ideas on how to train people.
And did it work straight away?
Because
it's quite unique, as in it's quite a niche thing, isn't it?
I had a really good following.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have had that had I not have been in the Ultimate Fighter.
Got you.
So the Ultimate Fighter did wonders for me with regards to my business. Mm-hmm. There was no one else in Bournemouth at that time who was pushing mixed martial arts that far. I mean, there were a few guys, don't get me wrong, there were a few guys, but they weren't in the limelight. I was fortunate enough to have been on the Ultimate Fighter in that limelight, so that helped my business. Like I said, had I not been in that, I would have just been a local guy doing the local shows.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there 3 to 5 times a week. It's an amazing community what you've created.
It's really good.
Everyone's friendly. Doesn't matter what grade they are.
Yeah.
Fist pumping, saying hello. Yeah. Whereas I feel like when you sometimes go into other martial arts gyms, whether that's boxing or something, I feel there's sometimes a bit standoffish.
Yeah, but I mean, that's again the other nice thing about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is Jiu Jitsu is an adapted Japanese martial art. Went over to Brazil. Brazilian people are friendly. They're lovely. They're they're living life, aren't they? And I think that's the lovely element that they bring to it. It is all friendly, and it is all community based.
Talking about Brazilians, probably a good time to mention it. Now, I've been chatting to a lot of different BJJ fighters and reading some forums online and stuff. Yeah. There's this dynamic going on at the moment of historically the Brazilians have been dominating the scene, and now the US or other parts of the world are.
Yeah.
Have you seen that shift?
Yeah, that happened a few years ago. That was happening a good few years ago. That was, and it's
because obviously when you hear of, I mean, I'm so new to it that I'm sort of learning it. But when I see a Brazilian black belt, I put them somewhere else in my head naturally than maybe when I see an English black belt. But that's because I don't know enough probably at the moment. But do you think that's starting to shift?
Yeah, because it's...
And in competition.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to teams and then the individuals in that team and then the coaches in that team. But, I mean, look, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world is an American at the moment. So, and he comes from a very, very good team, and they're mostly American people on that team.
Yeah.
So it does come down to the coaches, but...
The MMA scene must have helped that though, right? Because I feel like MMA is big in America.
MMA is huge, and it's been going for a really long time.
Jeff, I want to ask something.
Yes.
And I was asking Claudio this, and I've only been doing it 3 or 4 months, as you know, but I see a massive disparity in grading between gyms.
Okay.
Even from a local perspective.
Yeah.
And I've already seen that 3 months in.
Yeah.
I'm a white belt.
Yeah.
And when you're grading, let's forget everyone else for a minute, because obviously you've got your own gym.
Yeah.
Are you looking for attendance, skill, or competition? Or a bit of everything? And the reason I say that is because I've noticed some gyms nationally, because they've got too many students, they're grading purely on attendance, on an attendance card. So if you've been there for 2 years, you might be a blue belt.
Yeah.
If you've been there for 4 years, you might be a purple belt or something like that. But actually, it doesn't necessarily mean the skill's there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's about applying. If you can't apply it, this is directly to what you've just said there in that last sentence. You could do 20 different types of armbar, but if you can't do them in one sparring session against multiple people, if you can't do them, how can we possibly give you your grade?
That's what I was going to ask you. How would you? So obviously I've done private since I started. I've done one class last week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come to the class today.
Yeah.
So obviously human nature, we want progression. It's in us.
Yeah.
There's a bit of greed in humans, and we want what's next. So as much as a part of me in my head thinks I'd quite like to be a no-stripe white belt till I turn blue. So it's like a ghost fighter. So you're a really good white belt, if you know what I mean.
I can do that for you.
But as in, a part of me thinks that'd be quite cool. And then a part of me keeps seeing people getting stripes. And obviously it's human nature. And you're sort of thinking, I rolled with a lad the other week who's got his first stripe.
Yeah.
He's not been doing it. He's been doing it as long as me, but probably not as intense. And I probably subbed him 7 times in 1 round.
Okay.
So there's massive disparity between our levels.
Yeah.
But arguably when we line up, he's ahead of me.
He's ahead of you. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily an ego thing. I'm quite buzzed off that I was like, right, I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
But it's how do you grade then? Like I'm coming to roll. Are you looking for certain fundamentals? Is there a syllabus?
Right. So this comes down to what I think is the most difficult, hardest thing in jiu-jitsu. For me, right, I've always found that gradings are the most difficult thing to do because of simply what you've just said. You know, you went with the guy who's a higher grade with you, you subbed him out, blah, 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 blah. Does that directly give you the right to be a higher grade than him? Does it? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. There are blue belts in the gym that you could probably beat. And I think that was probably nationwide. There are places like that. Now, going back to, these recreational guys, if they put the work in, they turn up all the time, they have a reasonable amount of skill for the amount of time that they've been training, I will grade them.
Got you.
If they're terrible, I won't grade them. You know, if they're absolutely useless, I won't grade them. Mm-hmm. But this, again, comes down to why they're useless. Because I'm not teaching them properly, because I'm not as skilled enough as a teacher as what I think I am. And it comes down to, then it comes back on me. So I've got to up my teaching game, right? That's one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
The other thing is Ty, you could go into competitions and smash all the competitions, then I would give you, say, if you went to a white belt tournament, say if you won 3 or 4 gold medals at a white belt tournament, I'd give you your blue belt.
Okay, so in your eyes, being able to do it is one thing, but actually being able to apply it under pressure, which is effectively what competition is, is also like a fast track kind of, in a way.
That the competition route is definitely a fast track. I don't care what you say, it's definitely a fast track. There are some clubs...
Well, it's proof you can do it, right?
It's proof that you can do it. There are some clubs that will have you you'll have to win 20 gold medals before I change you to belt. There are some clubs that do that, and you could be a white belt, a blue belt, blah, 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 for a lot longer than the recommended times. There's 1 year recommended for a white belt, 2 years for blue.
Who recommends this?
So this is from our unofficial governing body, which is the IBJJF, right? It's an
unofficial.
It's completely unofficial. It's just a company. It's Halo Bournemouth.
Yeah.
It's just a company. You promote your dancers and door staff to your, that's what it is.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So they've set some guidelines effectively.
They've set some guidelines, and it's great that they have, because no one else has done it. And many, many people, especially the competitive people, follow those guidelines, and they run refereeing courses, official courses, and it's very, very good.
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone. The recommended times are great. That's good. I think everybody does kind of adopt the recommended times. So Ty, if you went and won a tournament, you've got no extra experience, I'd still probably make you wait a minimum of a year. Even if you went out and won a tournament, bam, 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 over the next 6 weeks, you got me 6 gold medals each weekend, I'd still probably make you wait just before a year, maybe, on white belt. Maybe.
I feel like you should do that anyway to keep someone grounded.
Oh, completely.
Do you know what I mean?
Completely.
From a different perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I've got brown belts at the gym that can beat black belts.
Well, we saw that 2 weeks ago.
We saw that. And there's other guys, there's other brown belts at the gym that can do that as well.
Yeah.
They're doing a year. They are going to do a year at least at their grade. Now, with the grades as well, it comes down to individuals. So, I might have a 60, 65, 70-year-old person at the gym, right, who's training. They're religious. They come all the time. You can smash him. You're the same size, same weight, but you can absolutely smash him. Should I never grade him because you can smash him?
I hear you.
Do you know what I mean?
I hear you, yeah.
This 70-year-old, he's coming. But you can't beat anyone in the class. Start beating people in the class, then I'll grade you. So you've got to tie. It is a fine line, and that's why I say it's the hardest thing. It's a fine line. Mate, I've got to do that with kids as well. There are some clubs that religiously give out stripes. The kids turn up, and this is one of the things the IBJJF I don't agree with. The kids turn up, they get a stripe a month. Bam, bam, bam. They ended up with 12
regardless
stripes.
how good they are. Because obviously everyone learns at a different level.
Everybody learns at a different level. My kids, I make them demo and I make them fight, and that's it. I make them demo and I make them fight, and they learn a syllabus that I've created, and I do my own sort of grades. So instead of 4 stripes on the belts, I give them 3 stripes, and then they can change to a belt. Anyway, that's a long conversation, but...
so it's purely, really, what we're saying is it's purely on the interpretation of the person that's allowed to grade.
Basically, yeah, with guidelines. With guidelines, so...
Because also some gyms stripe every belt for adults.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, Ippon doesn't. You only stripe white belts.
No, only stripe white belts.
I know the Gracie lot always stripe every belt almost on the way up.
It's so subjective. So subjective.
Is that? Would you say that's purely to remember where people are at as well? If you've got 300-400 students,
to remember where they are. Yeah,
it's got to be tough.
That's why I don't want 300 or 400 students. No. I've got about 100 to 150.
Yeah, but you've outgrown your space now, really, haven't you?
Yeah. We have. A long time ago, we did, but
because when I did karate, just going back to that, it was quite interesting. I actually had this bloody license, this blue little booklet that said that I couldn't fight on the street because my hands were weapons and all this kind of rubbish thing, even though they don't teach you how to throw a punch, really. And for me to grade, I got to brown, I believe, as a kid.
Yeah.
For me to grade, I had to tick off like 4 things, like demo a kata, spar.
Yeah.
But there was actual like things I had to tick.
Yeah.
And the guy would come down from London, stamp it with this like official karate thing.
Yeah.
And you've moved up a level.
Right. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I'm bringing that out for my kids. I've got the books made. I've got stickers to go in there. I'm getting a stamp.
Amazing.
But for kids, that's perfect for kids because the kids need structure. I've got it all written out. I know exactly what they need to be doing. But with jiu-jitsu, with an adult, I think that's impossible. And now you say you run a club, Pete down the road runs a different club, Claudio runs his club, blah, blah. We all have different ideas of what people should be doing for their grades. I purely work theoretically for self-defense. You're working more on takedowns into submissions.
Yeah.
Claudio's working purely competition guys, and Pete just wants to do no-gi. So all these different things, they've all got different elements. So Pete's built his on no-gi, Claudio's built his on competition, I've built mine on self-defense, and you're doing sort of takedowns and stuff like that. Now, we all got our different ideas. So you make a syllabus, I make a syllabus, and they're all different, but they're never ending. Jiu-jitsu is growing, growing, growing. So there's a K-guard that the guys are doing now. And I've never seen that before. It's a proper competition thing, that they're doing. So jiu-jitsu is never ending. It's never ending. And what I've created for the children is I've created a syllabus of the stuff that I see the kids doing in competition and in sparring, but it's taken me 10 years to do it.
Wow.
10 years, literally, to see what's working, what isn't working, and what they're allowed to do, because there's some things the kids are allowed to do that the adults can do and the kids can't do. So
makes sense.
So with kids it works, with adults it doesn't. So I've got probably about, let's say, 70 to 90 kids at the gym. And they're getting better and better and better all the time, and they're following this curriculum that I've made for them. And in the future, they will be the me's and the you's sat here, doing that. So
talking of kids, Jeff, one of your sons is quite a good level now, right, Leo?
My only son. Yeah,
the only son. I thought you had two.
No, I've got a little girl.
Okay, little girl. Sorry, 2 kids then.
Yeah,
bad research from me.
That's all right.
Leo is, how old is he?
Leo's just turned 15.
Just turned 15. Now, there's a couple of things I want to ask you about this.
Yeah.
Has being a BJJ practitioner changed your fathering to him? Like,
do you know what? I don't know, because that's all I've ever done.
You don't know any different?
I don't know any different. Yeah.
And do you push it on him? No. Some parents are like, if they're a footballer, they might push their kids to get into football. If they're
not at all.
Has he chosen to, or you've taken him along as a kid and he loves it now and he enjoys it?
I started teaching kids for him. He really wanted to do it. He's been down the gym when he was 4. So I thought, right, I'll wait till he's at school, and then I've got his classmates that I can add into the class.
Yeah.
So I started, and I had loads of kids to start with. There's only him
so
doing
you're effectively bringing other people's kids in so your son could roll about with them to learn.
Yeah.
Originally,
Originally, yeah. That's
kind of grown.
Yeah. But he's just stuck at it, and he loves it. And he looks up to Harry, and he looks up to Claudio, and all of those competition guys. He loves them. So
it must be an amazing feeling to watch him compete. And
it's great.
And all your students in the gym.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
The fact that they're learning from you. And I think Claudio was saying there's a few people that you have at your gym that started like me as a white belt and have stuck with you all the way through to black belt.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that minimum? We're talking 10 years.
10
minimum,
years.
aren't we?
10 years, yeah. No, but that's why.
Which has got to be quite rare, because there's a few lads that I train with. One of them's the Bradley that came the other day to the class.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been around a little bit.
Yeah.
So probably never had the opportunity to grade, but he's quite a good level.
Yeah.
So it's quite rare, isn't it, for someone to
black belt?
No, Bradley, the one that came to class with the white belt, no stripes, blue gi. Do you remember? With me?
Trying to think now.
Long hair.
No.
Looks like Tarzan. I call him Tarzan. He loves it.
Your mate?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
You see what I mean? So he's been around a few gyms.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, not just locally, nationally.
Yeah.
And he's probably never had the opportunity to grade.
Yeah.
But he's a good level.
Yeah.
I felt that anyway.
Yeah. No. The others have told me as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, there's a topic that I'm pretty interested in, and I know you speak quite openly about. It's psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've done ayahuasca, am I right?
Yep.
I've got a friend who has been inviting me for ages to go and do this sort of stuff. It's not ayahuasca. It's in Portugal. It is psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Yes.
Yeah, which is magic mushrooms.
Okay, that's the one he keeps saying, come and do, if you want to do it. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
But I'm frightened of it. I've never done it. I guess I'm partly frightened of being in my own head for a long time and not being able to get out. I mean, when was the first time you did ayahuasca? What was that like?
The first time I did it was 2014.
Okay.
And the way it sort of came about is I was depressed and I had, maybe I felt stuck in a rut, or the reasons for my depression were, I don't know, maybe it was leaving a professional fighting career and not having that to drive for, to aim for anymore. Maybe I felt lost, and maybe, and I know that happens to a lot of fighters, that when they lose that drive and that reason for everything.
I think a lot of professionals in general, whether they're in any trade, when you've sort of done something for 20 years of your life and it's gone, must be a massive hole. I know a lot of the military lads, they say the biggest part of leaving is that actually.
Yes.
They don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I know military guys as well.
That's all they've known.
And you see it, don't you? Yeah, the poor guys. Yeah.
So you're obviously having a bit of a tough time.
Yeah, and I didn't at that point didn't consider medication or anything like that. And I spoke to a good friend of mine. I watched a few videos of this, that, and the other. And coming off the back of The Ultimate Fighter, one of my friends there was sort of an advocate of it, and he was saying, "Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. You should try this, you should try that." And one of the things he was saying was to try this ayahuasca. And I thought, do you know what? I don't know a lot about it, and I sort of went feet first, really.
Fair play.
Look, I went to a foreign country. The only place I could find to do it was in Europe, and I emailed them and got an email back a few days later, and then they put me in touch with the person that I needed to do because I did a 1-to-1.
Yeah. And they speak English, all right? These people who
fine.
They can explain what they were doing.
Amazing, yeah. It was so good. It was so good. And I went there. So I got on this plane, Bournemouth Airport, and flew over, got a train in a foreign country, and ended up in this funny little place. And I was just there, and it was, here we go, and I was shown around the ceremony room, and literally it was in the heart of the forest. There were wild pigs all over the place. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. I couldn't have asked for a better place. And the people were lovely. I'd never seen these people before, and they both gave me the biggest hugs. And
amazing.
I'm okay with contact. I can imagine a lot of people, aren't. They're not a lot of people, especially us Brits. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, I decided that this could help, that ayahuasca could help. And it has. It's made my life better. It's made, it certainly kicks depression in the ass.
Yeah, I've read that a lot online.
It is a lot online, but that's personal for me as well. So what it does for me, it might not do for you. But there is a lot of proof and a lot of evidence and a lot of studies now to show that psilocybin, which is the active compound in magic mushrooms, they can effectively treat depression. And the similar substance of dimethyltryptamine, which is in ayahuasca, which is the active compound, DMT.
Yeah.
That stuff helps. It helps.
Plant medicine, isn't it, effectively?
Basically, entheogens is what they call it. It's plant medicine. Yeah.
I read something online about people using it now for anxiety, depression, all these clinical conditions, and they're microdosing with mushrooms, etc., and they're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not tried it myself.
Ty, it's unbelievable, mate. Honestly, I love it. I absolutely love it.
There's something I want to ask you about ayahuasca, because a friend of mine does a toad?
Yeah.
Off the frog, whatever that is, the poison off the frog's back, etc.
Hold on. That's called... Do you know what? That slips my mind.
So
Cambo. It's Cambo.
Is that what it is?
It's called Cambo. Oh, no. There's also the one off the back. So there's Cambo, which is toad poison.
Yeah.
And then there's a Sonoran desert toad, which has a type of DMT on it as well. And that's...
Might be that one.
That's called 5-MeO DMT. And that stuff is wild. Have you ever seen anybody trip on that? Again, you can see videos.
Well, the reason I was going to ask you is obviously, am I right in thinking with ayahuasca, you are awake and you're purging?
Yeah.
Whereas he said to me with toad, he's actually out cold, as in, what he said he takes it and he's gone for 45 minutes, effectively asleep, dreaming in his head.
Oh, okay.
So he's not like, because with ayahuasca you're awake, right? You can hear the guy. You obviously do it guided.
Yeah, you come in and out of almost like dreams.
Okay.
You're coming
still
in
aware
and out.
though of your surroundings.
You're aware,
not really?
and you could be aware like that. If need be, you could be. You couldn't snap out of it. Don't get me wrong. You couldn't snap out of it, but if there was a fire in the building, you could cognitively, with help, get up and get out. Most times, there's sometimes that I've seen people can't move, and I've done it before where some people just lay and they almost look they look so peaceful. They look so really, peaceful, and they don't move, and their hands are up. And but for myself personally, you don't do it on your own anyway, Ty. So it's.
How long is it?
I've done 9 hours.
Wow.
9 hours on a.
What about like food and drink?
You don't need it. You don't need it. Nothing. There's water. You can have water, but you don't. Food's the last thing on your mind, mate. The last thing on your mind.
You can tell I eat every couple of hours.
But
what about like? Obviously, as I said to you earlier, my fear would always be to have. I mean, what we're taught as bad trips. Have you had any bad trips?
Right.
Or is that a thing? Is it? I don't know. Is it all a little bit up and down? It's a long time. 9 hours.
The scariest thing you can do. There's, for my context. There's, you see so many things. You're confronted with your worst fears, whatever those fears may be for you. Not like, well, no, your worst fears. I was going to try and put it in the context then, but you can't. Whatever deep, dark fears you have, they're going to come up. There's no doubt about it. It might not this time, but it will at some point come up for you.
Oh.
Now, but it's more than like, say if you didn't like cotton wool. Oh, I hate cotton wool. Some people don't, it's not like that. It's not, they're
deeper.
Loved ones going and they're, you're scared of whatever.
Our biggest fear, I think, as humans is probably death. Whether that's to ourselves or to our loved ones or whatever. So for me, I'd think if I did it, I'd probably see things like that, I would imagine personally. If I'm thinking of like something that you sort of worries me or scares me or it's probably that element.
There's they call, I'm sure I've heard it before and I've watched a lot of documentaries, I've read a lot of books and articles about it, but they call ayahuasca, in some of these things they've called it the little death.
Okay. I think I've heard that before,
yeah. And I don't know if it's related to that or it's related to another plant medicine. I can't remember. Anyway, you certainly are confronted with death, Ty, when you do it. Why do we do it? It's crazy.
Well, you say that, but everyone I've met that's done some form of psychedelic, I'm almost envious of them because when you speak to them, they're so calm, they're so relaxed. They almost, talk about this reborn thing. They almost like feel godlike, invincible. And I guess a part of that might be due to what they see during these, trips or what are they called? Sessions? What is it called? An episode? I don't know.
Sacred journey.
Sacred journey. There you go. So what they see through that, whether they see, as you said, the death or what's in the afterlife, if there's an afterlife, if they're kind of seeing images of that, they almost feel not afraid of dying anymore. It's quite, it's amazing when you speak to them. I'm quite envious of that in a weird way.
Yeah, it's almost a religious experience.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not religious at all, but it is almost, you know, what they write about, what you hear, and mate, it's crazy. I had one really lovely journey one time, and everyone was in the room doing their own thing, throwing up and crying and laughing and screaming and singing. I was in a big group of people, and I just crept out the door and I went out into the patio of this gorgeous house we were staying in. And I went out there and I just put my hand on the window. It was probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, and the stars were out and there was a massive tree. I've never felt so alive. I've never felt more connected with nature, with life. I even wrote it. I've got it on my art page. And I drew a little sketch of me with my hand on the window, looking at this great big oak tree and all the flowers, because it was summertime, beautiful flowers out. And I wrote that, and then I stood there, and I've never felt more connected with every part of life. I said that, and this is how I really felt. I'm still off my head. You know, I was still deep in the journey. And I just felt like I could feel every single atom, I could feel the air on my skin, and I could almost see my breath coming in and out. And,
wow,
you know, I put my hand on the tree, and it's, when you do something like that, it connects you to yourself, and it connects you to spirit, but it also connects you to this planet, and it connects you to Earth as well. And I know it's so weird, and and some people that are listening to this, Ty, whatever they think, you know, if they haven't done it, they won't understand what I'm talking about. They just won't understand. Same as I wouldn't understand about
whatever,
you know, whatever their field is.
And have you done it a few times?
14 times.
14 times.
14, which is not a.
Is that not a lot?
No, it's not a lot.
Okay,
no. Some people do, you know,
every
in a year
year
they're 12. No, they have 12, 13 times a year.
Oh wow! Okay.
You know.
Okay. How and why do you go again? Is it regular routine, or is it?
Because I get depressed, and it's not going to go. I'm at peace with that now, that it's not going to go, and it goes up and it goes down, and I know that there's certain levels. I have good days and I have bad days. Now, at the moment, the bad days, because of lockdown and because I did it, I think I probably did it, the last time I did it was, when was 2021 was lockdown? When did lockdown start?
2020 March.
2020. So 2019 was my last time.
Okay.
I did it, right?
And do you feel you need to do it again?
I'm booked.
You booked in? Wow.
I'm booked. Yeah, I'm booked. I'm going to go. Yeah.
Europe or South America? Because it's big in South America, isn't it?
I'm not ready for South America yet.
Why is that? Is that stronger there or something?
No.
Okay, fine.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm very pale-skinned. And the mosquitoes love me, so...
okay, fine. I'm all right. Nothing to do with the actual product or anything.
No, but that is the sort of mother experience. That's where it comes from. That's the zenith, you know, of...
How exciting.
Of the journey, you know, because you're actually with the people that have grown up doing it.
I mean, it's everywhere at the moment, I feel. Every corner I turn, I speak to someone that's either doing it, and some of these people are really like high level people in society, if you know what I mean.
Do you have many local? Do you know many local?
Yeah, loads locally.
Because I'd love to speak to them, because I'm quite.
I can put you in touch. Some of them are amazing. People.
I've got a little. There's a few people around here I know that have done stuff like that type, but I still feel quite alone with it, you know.
Really?
There's not a lot of people. This is why I'm so open about it. Why I can talk about it, because I've got no other fucker to talk to about it.
Yeah. I'm with you. Well, the ayahuasca, I don't actually know anyone that's done it locally.
Oh, okay.
They've done the other stuff. They've done toad. They've done psilocybin, whatever. A friend of mine recently been to Portugal, which is one that was trying to drag me along. Yeah. But I've sort of like, it's so around me at the moment.
I know loads of mushrooms. Yeah, loads of psilocybin stuff. I'm cool with that.
But people can live on that stuff, right? That's the stuff we're talking about, mushrooms. You can have it, microdose it, and live daily. Yeah. You don't necessarily.
No, it's
not
lovely.
Like a trick that you get taught in school where you going to jump off a building or something.
No. It's not like that. It's not like that. I've done probably 5 deep, high dose psilocybin journeys as well. How many of them have been guided? 1, 2, 3, 4. They've all been guided. I've never done it on my own. A deep dive.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it on my own. You always need a spotter. And I have never once thought on any of these, on the ayahuasca or psilocybin, I've never once thought about doing something that can endanger my life. Not once. And that's that's about 20 sacred journeys I've done. I've done them on the beach. I could have, in midnight, I could have gone swimming.
Wow.
And I've never done it. I've never had, not to say that some people wouldn't, but there's always a percentage. There's always a percentage. And there's always a percentage that the media will pick up on and go,
run with,
don't do this. Oh, no, don't do that because that boy died doing that. Yeah. You know, it's just how it is.
The science behind it, I wonder I'll have to Google this when I'm finished, but I'm guessing is it unlocking parts of the brain that make you imagine things that we don't normally use? Okay, so
psilocybin creates new neural pathways. That's what they're saying. That's what the science suggests. I guess. Look,
so almost learning to think differently by using it effectively.
Reconnect, creates new ones, reconnects. I'm sure there is a study where they've like put someone on it and they've mapped the brain. I'm sure they're doing it now.
Yeah, I can
Which
imagine.
is why it's becoming legal in some US states already.
Yeah.
Colorado, I think.
That's right. Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. And my news feed on Instagram is full of it. It's full of it.
I was going to ask you, do you think it'll be legal soon in the UK?
I think they're going to use...
The mushroom element anyway.
I think as treatment for depression.
Yeah.
It's got to.
It's got to be recognised at some point.
It's got to.
If they're doing, if people are genuinely doing studies and getting results.
Yeah. And
risk
I
over
hope
reward.
one day that it takes over. I've done antidepressants.
Okay.
Right, and I know how they make you feel.
So you've been given them from the doctor, right?
I went, and the doctor was great. I phoned him up and like 15 minutes later, I was in the surgery and he gave me sertraline.
Okay.
And it does help. They do help. But they take away as well. So I just literally felt like...
Numb.
Flat. Flat.
Because they designed, from what I understand, they're designed to just, as you've just said, flatten you.
Yeah.
So you don't go up or down.
Don't go up or down. It's kind of, yeah. And I don't want to. I don't want to exist like that. No. I don't want to exist like that.
I get that.
You can have. So to get off of that, I think I did those. I can't remember. It may have been up to about 3 months. But I just thought, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So I was swapping out my medication some days for, I didn't even measure it, a little mushroom. So I'd have a mushroom instead of my medication. And some days everything was fluffy and warm. Other days it was normal, but I could function. And then eventually I weaned myself off of the sertraline. Now I'm not a heavy user. I was never a heavy user of antidepressants. I've had one stint of that, so I don't know.
I'm with you.
It worked for me, like I say, and this is the important thing that comes out of this is that I'm just giving you my account and my experience and how it's worked for me. I'm not saying that get off those antidepressants, buddy, swap them out for magic mushrooms. You have to be careful with that stuff. You really do have to be careful with that stuff.
Well, you've got. If there's people out there that are genuinely clinically depressed and been to a doctor, they need antidepressants. That's what they need. They need medical intervention.
And I hope that one day, and it's coming, that medical intervention can be a guided psilocybin session.
Yeah.
Psychedelic therapy. Psychedelic therapy is a thing, and it is going to become more prevalent now.
I think so. And the way the world's going, I think eventually that will go into the mainstream a lot more.
There are so many studies, so many videos where you can see it, and there are so many documentaries about people with PTSD and all sorts of things. And it's mushrooms that the psilocybin in the magic mushrooms that really help.
Do you have to, are you forever living on mushrooms though?
No.
Okay, fine. So it's
I haven't
not
had
like...
them for years. I haven't had them for years.
That's really interesting. So it's almost like, I don't want to say the word cured you, but it's almost like solved the problem for the foreseeable, for now.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And do you think doing ayahuasca, etc., has changed you as a person at all?
Yeah.
Like your personality, your character, are you different now than you were pre it?
Yeah, because up until doing it, my entire life had been about, I want to say self-serving. I'm still quite self-serving, to be fair.
I think we all are, Jeff.
Yeah,
I think we all are
to a degree. Even though I have got a family.
Yeah.
But it was quite self-serving, but I was focused on my sport. I've always been a sports martial arts fighter. And, you know, that's ingrained in me. That's, you know, and when you are a professional fighter, you know, up to me getting in the Ultimate Fighter and having these many pro mixed martial arts fights, you know, I wasn't a lovely person. I wasn't a lovely person. I was arrogant, and I was sure of myself, and I wanted to...
Hot-headed?
I've always been hot. I'm ginger, mate. I've always been hot-headed. You know...
I've got a lot of calm ginger friends, I'll have you know.
They're holding it back. They are holding it back.
So you think are you more now selfless, in a way? More aware, more...
I'm more aware. Right, I'm more aware of... I'm not laser focused on that thing anymore. I'm nicer. You know, I'm nicer to my wife. I'm not that I was horrible to my wife at any point, but you know, but I'm a nicer person to be around. You know, I'm so very different to what I used to be, and since doing that, it's rekindled my art. I always loved art, and the art that I was doing. As soon as I left school, I was into fighting, even though I was doing it before then. But then I realised I could do it properly.
Yeah,
the art just went by the wayside, and the art just helps me. You know, just helps me, and the ayahuasca has rekindled that love for creativity, and look, Ty. At the end of it, all just comes down to love, mate. It just comes down to you know, loving people, and that's it. You know, that's it. And that's at the end of at 99% of the journeys I've had, they all end in love. They really do. They really do. There's only one that I came home crying from for days.
Well, that's the type of love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you've said there is key. Ultimately, it's made you a nicer person. And that's our one job on this planet, is to be a good human being. So whether that, and we've spoken about this before, whether that's from psychedelics, whether that you find a new faith, whether that, you know, I'm not against any religion, any sort of thing, what you're talking about, any experimental stuff, as long as it makes, you're not harming anyone and it's making you a better person, that's win-win, surely.
Yeah.
It's no-brainer.
Yeah, it is. And those things you just mentioned, they will work for some, they won't work for others. So
of course.
It's just all about finding that. Some people don't need it at all. Some people are just lovely. You know, they don't need all that stuff.
It's interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I do wonder how we're all so made up so differently in terms of personalities and qualities and traits and character.
Yeah. If you had a deep dive into psychology, that would be just so interesting. I really do think that.
There's that nurture versus nature piece, isn't there, always? What was in you, what's been nurtured into you from your surroundings, etc.
Yeah.
I'm a chronic overthinker. And even Claudio said it yesterday when we were rolling. He said, where I'd had 3 weeks off training, he said, you're overthinking again. He said, so you're taking too long to react. And I get this thing called paralysis through analysis. So I overthink something, I create a problem, then I'm like a deer in headlights. So like the best thing I've ever done, the best work I've done, the best events I've done, the thing where everyone goes, oh, you've done really well with that, what a great idea. It's always been impulsive. I'm naturally an impulsive guy. I've got like this, it's from my mum and dad. So one of them, my dad's pretty like, does stuff off a whim. You know, like we'll just do it. If he believes in it, he'll do it. My mum overthinks things as well.
Oh, okay.
So like, I have them both on my shoulder when I make decisions, not intentionally. If I just do things off script, it works really well.
Yeah.
If I tend to overthink it, I end up causing a problem for myself.
Yeah. Well, I had watched a couple of videos about ayahuasca. My friends had told me about it. I thought it would be good to do. It was, and I just did it. You can't half-ass it. You do it or you don't do it.
What about the element of control? So even when I go out drinking now, I'll have a couple of drinks, and when I feel like I'm getting a little bit tipsy locally, I might have a bottle of water and bring myself down. Obviously, with this thing, you've got to surrender to it, correct?
Yep, that's part of it.
If you tried to control your mind still, is that when it goes wrong?
It doesn't go wrong. It just makes it harder.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, for you. It just makes it harder for you. The moment you surrender that control, this is what happens with me. And it only up until the last time, we have spoke about this as well. So the worst part of my journeys, right? The worst part of my journeys is, and this is a funny thing, again, people listening to this, some people will get it, some people won't get it, is when I like to call it my soul.
Okay.
Right? It's when your identity, is trying to, it's when your body is trying to hold on to your identity, right? Imagine it's two separate things. And this is just how it works in my brain. No one else's. I don't know if anyone else feels this at all. But this is when you're on the threshold, right? You've done your high dose.
Yeah.
Things start getting a bit weird. The curtains are moving. The patterns on the carpet are dancing. And you know you're going. The first couple of times you don't know.
Okay.
Right, you're unaware of this, but then I became very conscious or very aware of a fight that was going on. And it was either my spirit holding on to my body or my body holding on to my spirit. It was one or the other. I still couldn't tell you to this day what it is, but it's that separation of, it might be the separation of ego, going, oh shit, you're going to go, and you end up rocking like that. You go, oh my God, what's this going to be like this time? How is it going to be? Is it going to be nice? Is it going to be, am I going to have a nice time? Is it going to show me some horrible shit again?
Yeah.
It could be, it's a fight. There's a fight that's happening there. And because I'm a fighter anyway, I'm conscious of it and I'm aware of it. And I'm like, oh, this separation. Whereas if you just go, okay, I can see that's happening now. Just take me where I need to go. Let's just go there. That would be nice. That would be a smooth thing. Got you. But for a long time, every time I did it, there was a fight. Up until the very last time. And the very last time that I did it, I could feel it coming and I just smiled, my heart opened and I just sank and I just sort of it felt like I was just sort of melting into the mattress I was on the ground, and it was just beautiful. It was just, if you haven't done psychedelics, if you haven't had the need for any of that healing like that, to get moments like that, it's just, that's what does it. That's what heals you. When you realize that you're part of something bigger, when you realize that there's more to this world than the beliefs that you have and the ego that you have and how your life is. There's just more. There's so much more, and you're connected to all of that. And what psychedelic therapy does is it opens you up to that, and you can feel more, and you can love more, and you can share your gifts with the world more, and for me, I've become more open. You know, I've become more open, less critical of myself, and more conscious of people around me and how I react to people, and you know, it helps with my daily mood. You know, you can have a journey with psilocybin or ayahuasca. You can have a journey, and the effects of that can last for months, if not years. They really can. And there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of accounts of people that have done it, and it's there. It's written down. People have said, you know, it's been 3 or 4 years since I've done it. I can feel the darkness creeping back in. I'm booked in to do it again, and I know it's not going to be easy. And they're non-addictive. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to get shown some stuff that needs processing, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to feeling a lot better afterwards, you know. And
I mean, do you feel excited that it's booked, or mixed emotions?
This is weird, right? As soon as this is out there, right? This is out there. As soon as you book it, and I didn't have this the first time because I didn't know about it. It wasn't part of me and it wasn't in me. I think when you've drunk it, it's always with you. It's always there. It's always with you. And I, as soon as I'd pressed that book, you can feel that day when I booked it, which was only a couple of weeks ago, I booked it. That day, it's almost like you can feel the magic work, the medicine working.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can feel it. And day to day, as you get closer to...
Is it calling you?
It calls you, and it works with you. And it's still, I don't know, Ty, that might be absolute bullshit. But that's how it feels for me. Right? For other people that, you know, that don't get it.
It could never be bullshit, because if that's how you're feeling, that's technically factual.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're talking from your perspective.
I don't know if anyone else out there, because I don't have a lot of ayahuasca people to talk to, I don't know if anyone else out there feels that. I don't get the same with mushrooms. I don't. But with the ayahuasca, it feels like, you know, I've taken that. I've taken ayahuasca, and it's stayed, and it's there, and it's just with me all the time. And it really is. Do you know what, Ty? There's still not a day that goes past when I don't think about it.
So interesting to hear you talk about that.
And that's since 2014. There's not a day that goes past when I don't think about it.
Wow.
And the impact that it's had on my life.
I'm going to go and do some research, I think.
Yeah, mate. It's worth it.
So, this is probably linked, to be honest, but I'll ask. You do a lot of art. Let's do a shameless plug. What's it on Instagram? At
Really Bad Art.
Just Really Bad Art.
Really Bad Art.
It's not that bad, but it's...
Thank you.
Now, initially I thought, like, martial arts is a way of expressing yourself, right?
Yeah.
So is art. It's a form of expression. But actually, knowing after a little bit of research on you and the psychedelics thing, and looking at the type of art you're producing, it's very abstract.
Yeah.
It's very like... Ooh, like you're on a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
Is it inspired by that?
Well, at school, I loved my art, and I was always drawing as a kid.
Yeah.
I was doing art, and that was what I wanted to go to art college and stuff, and never did it. I was too busy fighting.
Yeah. Probably wasn't as cool as fighting either, was it?
No. So I left my artistic side. I left it. And it didn't come back until I did my first ayahuasca trip again.
Yeah.
And then it came back, and I had a clear message that it said, you need to get back to it. You need to get back and do your art again. And do you know what? I love it. People buy it. And I don't do it for that completely. I do it because I get a feeling, and there's something I want to get down. And
I was just going to say that. So do you put a canvas up, then think, or do you randomly say sat at home having a shower, whatever, wake up and something comes to you?
That's
then
what
you
happens.
Run and do it.
That's what happens.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. That's what happens.
It's like a calling.
It's like I got commissioned to do one for someone, and it took me about a year
Why? Because the pressure.
Because of the pressure.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like it was natural, you know, and I don't want to do stuff like that. You know, I want to do stuff that comes to me, or stuff that I have a really big feeling for, you know. See, I've tried to do faces, and I've tried to do jiu-jitsu ones, and they just turn out terrible. And I do like little houses. I've got into doing little houses of places that I love and places that make me feel good, and they're nice. I got into doing spiders and animals, but I've painted some of the things that have happened to me specifically on ayahuasca trips.
Wow. Okay.
So I've painted some of those.
Any that you painted that then you thought shit, like as in scared you a bit after looking at it?
No. They're very personal. They're very private. They won't mean a lot to anybody else. But you know, they're there, and it's just to remind me, you know, when I'm older, maybe it's not available anymore, and I can go, look, you know, this is
like a memory.
Yeah, something that sort of happened, because you can't take a photo of it.
No.
And you forget it. You do forget those things really quick. Like my last magic mushroom one that I did a guided magic mushroom journey, and my ferrets. I've got ferrets, right? And this is one of the weird things that happened. They were running around. I've got real ferrets in real life. They were running around like, imagine you're geometric, and you go into this geometric place, and this geometric place is full of little things that can clean, tidy, and heal your geometry.
Yeah.
And my ferrets were running around in there, and their heads were opening up and spraying out all this light. It was so weird. Oh my God. But I drew it when I got home, and I look at that now because I forgot it, and I look at it now and I go, "Wow, that was amazing." You have
to show me a picture.
I'll show you it. It's on my.
Is it on the page?
Yeah, flower-headed ferrets.
I'll have a look.
So
flower-headed ferrets.
It's so weird, but I felt great after it. You know, who cares what you see?
Yeah.
Who cares what you believe in? As long as these things that you're doing aren't harming people, they're making you better. Do it.
Exactly. You know? My old man painted a lot growing up. A lot of the paintings in his house are his.
Yep.
And he does a lot of abstract.
Amazing.
And he's quite a profound guy. And he kind of like, I guess it's a type of, if you were going to journal your thoughts down, some people might journal it. And he used to, something would come to him like you, and he would chuck a load of paint on a canvas.
Yeah, great.
And 10 people could look at it and see 10 different things.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I never got it as a youngster though. Abstract, you never get, I don't think you understand it when you're 10 to whatever.
My kids walked up the stairs. I've got nice, not a spiral staircase, but you know, normal
gallery,
house.
Yeah.
But it's filled with my pictures and some of my little girls' pictures as well, and some that I've bought. My little boy came up the stairs, well, not little, was 15. He said, "Dad, you got to take that down, mate."
I used to say that to my dad. I used to say,
take it down.
Dad, don't put this up in my room. He's like, "Son, it's amazing." I'm like, "Well, it's a load of like random blues and yellows." It doesn't mean it like, looks like a kid's done it.
Yeah.
But it takes you a minute to understand that.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it's very subjective.
Jeff, we're coming towards the end now.
Sweet.
Before we finish, where can people find you on Instagram? It's at, for you,
Mr. Ippon.
Mr. _ Ippon.
Mr. _ Ippon.
And the gym?
Ippon Gym.
Ippon Gym.
Yeah,
cool.
Ippon Gym. And really bad art for my art stuff.
Really bad art. I love
really
that.
Bad art.
Love that, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the
pleasure.
show. It's been an honour.
Thanks for having me.
Legend.